Welcome to SVG-TV News for Wednesday, October 16th, 2024. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. Minister of Finance Camilo Gonzalez told Parliament on Tuesday that the government is seeking to enhance its spending practices, noting that in previous fiscal years, less money was spent than budgeted. The minister was responding to a question posed by opposition member of Parliament for Central Kingston, Sinclair Leacock, who inquired about measures in place to improve the credibility of the budget, highlighting the yearly negative variances. Gonzalez provided a detailed account of the yearly shortfalls, with 2021 being the only year in which budget implementation exceeded 90%.
2013, the government spent 13 cents less of every dollar budgeted. In other words, the government was able to spend 87% of the money budgeted in 2013. Over the 5-year period 2012 to 2016, the government spent, on average, 79 cents out of every dollar budgeted. For 3 of those 5 years, 2013, 14, and 16, the variance was below 20%, meaning that in those years, in excess of 80% of the budget was spent. The second period, highlighted 2017 to 2021, the government spent on average 87% of the budget. In 2021, the year of the volcanic eruptions, 96 cents of every dollar the government planned to spend was spent. And this was an extraordinary performance in the light of all the challenges, and I believe the best performance over any administration at any time in the history of the government.
The minister emphasized that the budget plans are made amidst uncertainties, and despite their best efforts, they still fall short. However, he noted that several initiatives are underway to enhance budget credibility and ensure increased budget implementation.
On the expenditure side, we have undertaken a number of public finance management initiatives that we believe will strengthen further budget credibility going forward. These include ensuring that expenditure ceilings are issued to line ministries, the conduct reviews of existing programs of each ministry to ascertain effectiveness and ensure that spending is properly prioritized, and prioritization is a critical aspect of this process. Contingency planning is done to allocate funds for contingencies and unforeseen occurrences like natural disasters and economic shocks, in order to avoid unexpected reallocations that could harm the credibility of the budget. We have strengthened our fiscal responsibility framework, and to this end, a medium-term economic and fiscal outlook document is done to inform the annual budget and ensure that medium-term plans are aligned with the government's long-term priorities, policies, and macroeconomic objectives.
Regarding Leacock's claim that the 2021 audit report indicated a budget shortfall of $217 million, the finance minister stated that he did not see any evidence of a shortfall of that amount. Police officers here who worked during the Cricket World Cup matches have experienced delays in payment. The government is responsible for covering the bill, which amounts to some $788,000 EC dollars. Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonzalez, speaking on the issue on NBC Radio today, described the amount as unreasonable, questioning the hourly rates ranging from 65 EC dollars to as much as 200 EC dollars. The Prime Minister said he has discussed the matter with the police commissioner.
What I know what is submitted to me is unreasonable. And how can you submit a bill that you work 15 hours security on a day when you're getting paid by the government, your salary for the same month? Let us say you're at the level where you get $100 a day. $100 an hour, sorry. 15 hours, that's $1,500. $1,500 for that 15-hour day. Well, you have to sleep 8 hours. How much you give the government that day for your salary? 1 hour? And I understand some people metaphorically want to chop off my head. You know, as I say, disagree with me so much that I must pay these numbers. Well, it's not the first time as Prime Minister that I have to stand up to unreasonableness.
PM Gonzalez reiterated his willingness to make payments as soon as he receives a revised figure that is lower than the original submission regarding police officers who are threatening not to work for the upcoming international cricket matches in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The Prime Minister said he has a plan in place.
I appreciate very much the security provided by the police. Some say if I don't pay the $800,000, $788,000, I round it to 800,000, that they ain't walking for the Bangladesh games. And my approach to that is a free and democratic world. You don't want to work. That's fine with me. And make other security arrangements. I don't want to get any, believe me, I don't want to get in any fight with the police. I'm the man, as Prime Minister, in 2007, who led the reclassification of the salaries in the police force and the public service. I'm appealing to the police, the leadership and the rank and file who worked, send me something reasonable.
And Prime Minister Gonzalez used the opportunity on radio today to call for peace between China and Taiwan following military drills conducted by China around the island of Taiwan on Monday. China's President Xi Jinping has vowed to retake Taiwan by force if necessary. This most recent escalation follows a speech by Taiwan's President William Lai on the 113th National Day anniversary on October 10th, in which he pledged to resist any attempt to take Taiwan. PM Gonzalez emphasized that there are already too many wars and that peace is essential.
On the necessity and desirability for peace across the Taiwan Strait. We know that there are tensions between mainland China and Taiwan. But the recent flexing of the muscles across the Taiwan Strait by the People's Republic of China, we are asking that they desist from doing this. Let's have peace across the Taiwan Strait. We have enough open conflict in the world already, more than enough. In Ukraine, in Gaza, in Lebanon, we see what is building up between Israel and Iran. In the Sudan itself, where you have 20 odd million people as refugees, the largest refugee crisis. And I tell you this, a conflagration across the Taiwan Straits would make what's happening in Ukraine child's play.
PM Gonzalez further noted the importance of dialogue between the two countries, asserting that Taiwan should be recognized for governing its own affairs.
I addressed those issues in my speech in the United Nations, and I just want to send this message to the People's Republic of China. We don't have formal diplomatic relations with them, but we engage with them in a number of different fora. I know of the challenges, I know of the disputes, I know of the tension, but this matter has to be talked through. Taiwan and mainland China stem from the same revered Chinese civilization. What we want is peace across the Taiwan Straits, and for there to be a recognition that the people of Taiwan have a right to determine what system of government they should have and how they should be governed. This is not a small group of people This is a nation of 23 million people.
Taiwan reported detecting 34 naval vessels and 125 aircraft operating in formation around the island on Monday. Prime Minister Gonzalez stated that it is time to seek a peaceful resolution. Minister of Agriculture Saboto Caesar has announced that reports concerning Vincentian farm workers will be addressed. This follows a publication by the United Nations Special Rapporteur highlighting contemporary forms of slavery affecting migrant workers in Canada. The issue was raised in Parliament yesterday by opposition Senator Israel Bruce, who questioned the minister about the working conditions of Vincentian farm workers in Canada. Minister Caesar revealed that one of the complaints received from the farm workers pertains to unfair dismissal.
There were complaints against 5 farms by Vincentian workers through the office in Toronto. And in the nature, one was a verbal abuse. We have 2 cases of claims for unfair dismissal, and on 3 farms, issues were raised touching on concerning housing. And I just want for persons who are listening to the answer that it is not a case where someone is there languishing and there is no recourse. There's a clear system for persons to report, and these matters are addressed in a very efficacious manner.
According to the minister, a comprehensive contract was crafted on behalf of the Vincentian farm workers. He emphasized that they are Vincentian liaison officers representing the workers' interests.
Is there a liaison officer assigned to respond to and report all concerns of the migrant workers? Answer to that is yes. The chief liaison officer is Mr. Ola Fontenelle. The deputy chief liaison officer is Ms. Sandra Bob, and there is a liaison assistant, and I wish to spend some time speaking about the work of the liaison assistant, Mr. Edwin Pascal. We thought it prudent to hire a former worker on the program so that we can have an inside scoop as to some of the issues touching on concerning that we have to grapple with. And I really want to commend the persons who came up with that idea for doing that in the interest of protecting all farm workers.
Caesar stated that the issues facing migrant workers will be raised at a UN forum next month. Conflict resolution should start at home, according to Colville Thorpe, counselor at the North Union Secondary School. He made this statement during the Police on the Beat discussion on NBC Radio on Monday evening, focusing on the topic of preventing crime through dialogue. Thorpe explained that as a secondary school teacher, it is challenging to see students lacking an understanding of conflict resolution, which is a contributing factor to the rising crime rates in SVG.
You should be observing proper conflict resolution techniques from your parents, right? I'm saying parents, but everybody live with both parents. So grandmother, grandfather, whoever is in your area, your family, yeah. Those are the persons that you should really be observing proper conflict resolution techniques from. Now, being a school counselor, I would have learned and picked up that not everybody has parents, guardians who possess those skills.
Wow.
Right? And it's especially challenging for me as a school counselor, as a secondary school, where persons are trying to form identities and these things, right? And trying to find what they value in the world. So it's very important for them to understand how to deal with conflict.
The conversation continued with Police Constable Cora Bob expressing concern over the increase in crime in the country.
Men, we are getting too comfortable. 20 years ago, for a firearm, if you see somebody with a firearm, if you just see a piece of the firearm, it would have been a big thing.
Yes,
hey,
right,
look.
yeah.
But They're almost like water guns, if I may say now. Very, very common. And it's not just police officers who have them, but civilians have them. Not just legal, but illegal. And one of the guests mentioned before how emotions influence conflicts. So somebody might get upset and they figure, I have a gun, you have a knife, I could do more than you. And without talking about the issue, they just use the firearm and there goes a life. Very simple. It creates a conflict in the way that sometimes we do searches, and because we're so accustomed to guns now, we have to go prepared mentally. You have to make sure you have an officer to secure you while you're doing what you should be doing. And that's a challenge for us.
Now we hear that to commemorate World Food Day 2024 today, Wednesday, October 16th, 2024, under the theme Right to Foods for a Better Life and a Better Future, Leave No One Behind. The Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, Fisheries, Rural Transformation, Industry and Labor, in collaboration with the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, hosted a handing over ceremony and a vertical farming demonstration of the Ministry of Agriculture's premises at Richmond Hill. The feature remark was done by Minister of Agriculture, Forestry, Fisheries, Rural Transformation, Industry and Labor, Sabota Caesar, with brief remarks by Chief Agricultural Officer Renato Gums, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry, Narissa Gittins Macmillan, and FAO Representative Verna Extover, in support of agricultural engagement and development for the upcoming generation of youths in agriculture. World Food Day 2024 celebration on behalf of the Ministry of Agriculture targeted agricultural science students from various primary and secondary schools across St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The ministry also initiated a demonstration of vertical farming models and principles, which was conducted by Agricultural Officer Rodwell Charles. The demonstration provided ideas for students to implement into their agricultural practices in school and home gardening. Farming tools and plants were also distributed to the schools. The day's event culminated with a tree planting exercise by the PSN students on the compound of the Ministry of Agriculture. And the Fancy Government School hosted its annual exhibition to celebrate World Food Day 2024. The exhibition highlighted a number of traditional foods that are locally grown, emphasizing the slogan, "Eat what you grow."
These foods not only nourish our bodies, but also connects us to our Garinagu heritage, our families, and our communities. Food is more than just what we eat. It represents our history, our stories, and our way of life. By preserving our traditional foods and supporting local agriculture, we are investing in a better future for ourselves and for generations to come. Let us celebrate these Vincentian flavors and continue to work together to make sure that everyone, everywhere, has access to the nutritious foods they need for a better life and a brighter future.
The Integrating Water, Land and Ecosystems Management in Caribbean Small Island Developing States, the Jeff Iwiko project, launched in St. Vincent and the Grenadines in August 2020, has made significant strides in promoting sustainable land management. This initiative includes a national sub-project focused on addressing land degradation in the Georgetown watershed. The multifocal 5-year project, funded by the Global Environment Facility, Jeff, with a budget of $999,685, aims to combat land degradation, enhance community resilience, and restore the productivity of agricultural land. During a close-out ceremony, project coordinator McKinney Borrow highlighted the project's achievements and the collaborative environment fostered among participants.
Throughout this project, we have targeted over 15 hectares affected by the landslides and 18 kilometers of eroded riverbanks, and were able to accomplish a thinning of 1.5 hectares of Blue Maho plantation in Montreal and 18,000 of riverbanks stabilized in South Rivers that was prone to landslides. Our initiatives aim not only to mitigate the impacts of flooding and soil loss, but also to create revenue-generating opportunities for local communities through ecotourism and sustainable practices. Despite facing challenges ranging from funding delays to the impacts of COVID-19 pandemic, we have demonstrated remarkable resilience. We have adapted, learned, and have been able to re-engage with stakeholders, driving meaningful progress towards integrated water, land, and ecosystem management.
UNDP resident representative for Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean, Lemia El Tabier, acknowledged the project's importance in global, regional, and local contexts, particularly in protecting the environment and ensuring the sustainability of watershed communities while addressing the adverse impacts of climate change. She emphasized the need to celebrate the project's successes while also extracting lessons learned to build upon the foundation established.
I think this is one building block, and many others have to come on top of it. This is a matter of urgency. It's a matter that cannot be delayed, and a matter I think everybody in this room in particular holds very dear to the heart. We all know that this program, this GEF-funded project, which is integrated water, land, and ecosystem management in the Caribbean, small island development states, is actually made up of several sub-projects. And this particular sub-project has focused on the watershed and ecological balance of the habitat around Georgetown. And within that, it's looked at numerous issues, including 7.5 hectares of the upper watershed area and 18 kilometers of riverbanks, including reforestation and forest management, including bank stabilization, including enhancing the ecological balance of that habitat, and including 1.5 hectares of replanting. These are issues we all hold very dear. These are successes we've managed to do together, but are only the beginning of what we aim to achieve in the long run.
Additionally, the project facilitated various training programs and exchange visits for technical officers and other stakeholders. The UNDP representative stated that the contributions made by the IWECO project are essential and must continue to be built upon.
I do want to thank both the government and my UNDP colleagues, because they've done something that I find not unique, but never happens as much as we would like it to. They've created a collaboration between this IWECO project and the Ridge to Reef project. And I think that collaboration has allowed the combined projects to have more impact, more effect, and reach more communities. I think each one of them would have done less individually. And that is something that I want to take as a lesson learned when we have our deliberation as a project board after this opening. I also want to thank the resilience of both the government, my team, and all the collaborators that we worked with in the communities, in the public sector, in the private sector, in the NGOs, in the GEF, in UNEP, because I know we faced a lot of challenges. This project saw delays due to COVID. This project saw delays due to a volcanic eruption. This project saw changes in leadership because of all of these things that happened, including other challenges we faced on the ground for implementation. But I think when we look at all of this and when we think of the delay, we also have to think of the agility and the endurance and the persistence that are required for this team that is in this room today to actually make sure that we keep moving forward.
Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Narissa Gittins Macmillan, emphasized in her address that the effects of climate change cannot be ignored, as St. Vincent and the Grenadines has been experiencing its impact in various ways. Macmillan noted that the IWECO and the Ridge to Reefs projects have arrived at a crucial time for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, aiding in the sustainability of land and soil systems while preventing degradation.
The thing is, when we look at the project and analyze what is going on, we realize that it's not just a forestry project. It's not just about rebuilding forests and preserving biodiversity and all of that, which are really good objectives. But at the end of the day, it's the impact that this project, as well as the Ridge to Reef project, would have on the community, on the individuals in that rural space. It looks at building the skills of those individuals who are already involved. So that would be the people from the forestry division, the people from the water sector who are already in it. But it also gave an opportunity for the community, the villagers, to learn new skills, to look at different ways of using what they have to enhance their communities. And one of the good things about this particular project is that it does not just focus on the environment, but the social aspect of individual lives.
Kittens Macmillan expressed her appreciation for the focus of the Iwiko and Rich to Reefs projects on building community resilience and facilitating recovery efforts.
It looked at how do we pull these people into the system such that they can benefit. At the end of the project, when we don't have the UNDP and Jeff and UNEP and all the other people, how can the individuals, the community, utilize whatever skills, knowledge they have gleaned from the project to their advantage? And you cannot in any way dump on that. That is indeed something strategic, something significant, which I think we should take along to other such projects. The people, make them people-centered.